Our agenda is to review functions. We're looking at conditional formatting in this project as we finish it up. And remember, in projects and spreadsheets, whenever you're dealing with dollars, always format them either in comma or currency format. That's just how accountants expect to see it. And if you don't, you look like a real, not an idiot, but you look like you don't know what you're doing in Excel if you don't format dollars in the proper formatting, because they won't line up. They'll look like just shoddy work. So anytime we're dealing with dollars, we want to make sure they're in good, presentable format. Okay, so let's go get started on our finishing up Excel project 2. Going to bring up Excel, look for my previous project, the EX2 project, section 2. And this is how far we got last time. It looks like the formatting is doing pretty well. I'm a little bit bothered by the size of this. What was this cell style we had here? Let's see, cell style. That is a cell. I see heading 2. Let's change that just a slightly smaller down to heading 3. Just makes it fit a little nicer. If you want a little space between that and the row above, you can enlarge the row size there. And remember, as we're adjusting our row size, as we adjust, we can see the height. And we see that height showing up as 70, 80, 90. If you're given a specific height, you can drag this until you see that number appear. Like say you wanted to put 60, but it's a little touchy. There, I finally got to 60. I could adjust it to a particular height of 60. Or I can right click row height and type in the actual value of my height that I want. Say I want it to be exactly 65. I could save time from trying to grab and get it just right to just type in the row height. Same thing I could do in a column. If I want to know if I want a specific width, I can right click column width and type in the value. Usually though, we're happy with the auto adjust, double click on the border, and it auto adjusts my column size. Now let's go through here. We're going to be formatting these values. We've got the numbers in decent format. We've got the heading 2 or heading 3. We've bolded these, and we've bolded these, and they got bold because we put them in total format across that row. Now let's come back and fix a few other things up. For example, our dependents, we would like that centered. Now I could just click that entire column up here to center them, or if I only want to apply to specific cells, I can drag through those and center left and right using the centering. So dependents, let's go ahead and center dependents numbers. Double click on the row on the column A to have that auto fit. Dependents, auto fit. Hours worked. Although they're not dollars, see how they're not lining up in the same number of decimals? Let's go ahead and put all these numbers in comma format. That's usually the quickest way of getting 2 decimals lined up nicely. It's not quite the same if I just say, well, let's increase the decimals to 2. That would do it as well, but notice how comma format is slightly different than show 2 decimals. Comma format does put a little bit extra padding on the right. And that's something that you could probably decide yourself. Do you just want to show the number of decimals? Comma format's just a quick way to show 2 decimals. Hourly pay rate, same thing. They're the correct numbers, but let's get them the same number of decimals. Let's go ahead and put in comma format. Since these are dollars, gross pay, federal tax, those are all dollars, it wouldn't hurt to put all of these. Just make sure all of these are in at least comma format. But notice we would not want to mess with the tax percent, because that will mess up the percentage. If I did comma format here, I'm going to get that. Don't want that. I want percent format. Otherwise, anywhere where you're dealing with dollars, put in the comma format. I'm going to go back to my textbook here so I don't miss anything. Let's see, formatting. Keep going here, cell size. Oh, the date. Back to the date. We would like these dates here. Rather than the 4-digit year, let's go 2-digit year. How would I do that? Well, I select through the dates, go to the date format. We already have it in date format, but I can click here for the details of the date format, and I show that I can do date and choose a slightly different formatting of the displayed date. By default, I want you to show the 4-digit year. Let's go back to the single digit, not a leading 0, but a single digit month or day and 2-digit year. I click OK. The number, remember the value hasn't changed, but now the display format has changed. I still have the highest, lowest, and average working out. Hourly pay rate, we have those in lovely lined up numbers. Just to be professional, we would also like to throw in some accounting formats. So let's choose a few values here. Let's go to, let's see, hours worked, those aren't dollars. Hourly pay rate, those are dollars. Gross pay is dollars. Federal tax is dollars. State tax is dollars. And control select net pay. Those are all dollar figures. We don't need to put tax or hours worked or dependents in comma or accounting format. In the book, they like to put that in special accounting format to show this is the type of currency we're dealing with. Going to do the same thing down here. These are dollar figures. Drag through, control select so I can skip over tax percent, and put those also in accounting format. Now down here in these numbers here, we would like to choose these numbers. Let's see, these highest, lowest, pay rate out to federal state tax. Let go and control select through those. We're going to do a slight variation on accounting format here. We know we could do easy accounting format, but let's learn how we can actually apply accounting format in a more custom manner. I select the number format, extra dialog after selecting those cells. And here I'm going to choose a currency format with 2 decimal places. If they're ever negative, show in parentheses, a common accounting format. And I still want to show my symbol though. By default, it's not going to show my symbol when I go to the dialog. Show the symbol, and let's see how this appears slightly different than the full accounting format. This time, the dollar sign is right up against the number, where with the accounting format, the dollar sign is left aligned. So that was setting my symbol to be dollar in the format cells special dialog. So accounting and currency are very similar. Currency lets me decide how many decimal places to show, and it's most common to show 2 decimal places. I could choose a different currency if I'm working with someone from another country. And OK shows how that can be slightly different view but still has the leading currency. We already have a percent style going, so I think we're good there. I see a little pound sign there. All you gotta do is double click on the column and it auto fits. Now comes a new concept here, something that a lot of people miss, so watch carefully. what we would like to do is anyone who has worked more than 70 hours, we want to automatically highlight their hours worked with a purple background. So I have to select those cells that contain those values, and this is where I'm going to learn to apply conditional formatting. So I come up here under the Home tab, Conditional Formatting. There's lots of options there to be confusing, but we're just going to jump right down to New Rule. You're welcome to explore the other ones. We want to know how to make our own rule. So I click New Rule, and there's more things to choose from. We're going to choose the second one, which is a simpler choice, where we decide how the formatting is going to be applied. You're welcome to work with those other ones, but we only look at this version of the rule type. So here we have some rules about the formatting. And what this says is format only cells with a cell value. Well, we want the cell value to be greater than, so I change that to be greater than. And the value that I'm going to choose greater than is not going to refer to a cell, but to an actual value I type in of 70. Anyone that has worked greater than 70 hours, this conditional formatting will be applied. So I have to understand that this is the rule, this is the condition that will apply to these cells. Now it's time to choose, well, what format will I apply when this condition is true? Oh, so that's where I click on the Format button. And I choose a color, I think we're choosing a fill of a dark purple. The actual color doesn't tell me what the color is when I hover over it. That color, whatever that color's name is, looks purplish to me. I click OK. It gives me a preview of what that'll look like, and I realize, wait a minute, that's going to be a little hard to read on a dark purple. Let's go back to Format, and let's change the font color to white. And let's go ahead and make it bold too. And I click OK. Now it's going to be a little more visible on a darker background. Now when I click OK, any cell in that selection whose value is greater than 70 will have this format applied to it. I click OK, and immediately anyone who has worked more than 70 hours has their hours worked highlighted. If I ever want to adjust my conditional formatting, I can come back to that after having the cell selected. I can come back to that and go to Manage Rules, and I will see that that rule is there. I could delete the rule or add another rule, or I could edit this rule in case I didn't like that format. I can always change the format and by editing that rule, or cancel. Now just for a little practice here, let's add another rule for anyone that has worked over 80 hours, meaning I'm going to have to pay them overtime. Let's highlight them as well, just for practice. So let's do another rule by adding a new rule, just like before, cells that contain cell value greater than 80. Let's highlight them with a format of a red fill and a font of an annoying yellow, and let's make it bold and italic. And can we increase the size of that font? Let's see if I can increase the size of the font too. Font, oh I can't, oh there I can. Oh, I can't adjust the size of the font in conditional formatting. I can adjust the color of it, but sadly I can't change the font size. I click OK and click OK again. No one has worked more than 80 hours. Just for fun, let's see what happened if I type in 88 for Olga's hours worked. As soon as I change that and click on another cell or hit enter, that formatting shows up for Olga. Now just a little this is a little detail here. When I go to conditional formatting and manage rules, do you notice that these rules kind of overlap? It says if it's greater than 80, turn it red. If it's greater than 70, turn it purple. Which rule wins? Well, it looks like the red rule wins because it found that first. So two rules that overlap, depending on the order, it may change. And I think I can even change the order if I wanted to. Let's see what happens if I change the order. Then this one will apply first, and I don't think Olga would be turned red. Let's just see if that works. Do an experiment. Change that to 88 again. See if it goes purple or red. Oh, it goes purple. So the order of the rules, if you have multiple rules, does make a difference. Most of the time, if I want to see the rules, I have to select the cells that have the rules applied. Then I can go to manage my rules, and I can move that one back up or move that one down. So that one gets applied first. If that one doesn't get applied, it'll apply the next one. So the order of the rules, if you have multiples, does make a difference. Now we'll give the correct number for Olga. It was 68, right? And so that goes away. Anytime, even if I select one of the cells and go to conditional formatting, manage rules, it remembers all the cells that the rule got applied to. See, that's a range of cells there. So as long as you're in one of the cells that had the conditional formatting, you will be able to see and change that rule, or even change what cells it applies to. So very powerful conditional formatting. We'll practice that a little bit more too, because this is kind of a new concept and understandably a little confusing, but very powerful. Automatically format numbers if they meet a criteria. Specifically, or most of the time in accounting, if the number is negative, that's often a bad thing. So very common in accounting spreadsheets, when you have a negative number, like in the profits for the month or in the balance, if that ever goes negative, you want conditional formatting to automatically kick in. Now, if you notice there in the number formatting in that currency, you can actually, there's sort of a little conditional formatting there for negative numbers will get turned red. That's kind of like a mini conditional formatting built into that. But you have power in being able to apply conditional formatting lots of different ways, and you're welcome to play with these other ones because they're similar. But in this class, we only look at knowing how to create your own rule, but there's all these other cool rules available you're welcome to play with. Okay, so that's that conditional formatting. We'll come back and practice that later. All right, what else do we need to do here? Let's see. Conditional formatting, that was one of the major things in this project. One major new concepts. We applied the formatting. We adjust all our columns. We're starting to refine this. We're almost done here. We're going to adjust our columns. And you've seen as I've gone along that I've adjusted them manually. Remember, you can select everything either with Control A or click up in the upper left, and then double click on any column border. It will auto fit everything. Column row, you can auto fit rows as well, and it may adjust a row smaller than you wanted it to be. I do want the row 14 and those numbers to be separated a little bit from my table. I do want row 3 also to be separated a little bit from the title. So I actually increase row 3. And remember, right click, you can give it a specific row height if you are directed to give it a specific row height. Like, let's give it a height of 90. It'll automatically give a known height. Checking to see what else they want us to do here. Adjusting any row height, columns. Oh, and one of the last things we're going to do now is do a spell check. Double click, or not double click, well, I can go to review and spelling. Now it starts spelling where I happen to be selected right now, which is here in these cells. And it looks like it checked everything. Let's click off of that. Let's start checking here and do check spelling. Now if I start down there, it does give me the option. Oh, I'm okay here. Do you want me to go to the beginning and check again? Now it's seeing that, wait a minute, you have a unknown word here. Yep, I'm going to ignore that. That's a proper name. Ignore proper name, proper name, proper name, proper name, and spell checking complete. If I have some cells selected, I believe it's only doing the spell check on those cells that I have selected. That's why it said you're good to go. If I'm on a cell, it will check the entire sheet again. Notice I didn't say autocorrect or change. I just said ignore once for that particular spelling. So if you have cells selected, it's only going to spell check those cells. Have one cell selected, then it'll spell your whole spreadsheet. You don't get the red squigglies while you're typing, just because that's the way Excel works. Now for a few extra things. Since you guys have worked so hard and you're keeping up, things aren't going wrong on our computers like they often will do and slow us down. Let's take a look at adding a note to a cell, such as, how about Altor? Benny, he's going to get a reward. How about Fox? Linda Fox has worked 80 hours. She's been working 80 hours for last month. I can right click on any cell and I can insert a comment. Way to go, Linda. I hit enter. I can add more lines to that. Clicking off of it leaves the editing of the note, but I see in the little corner there that there's a note there. If I ever hover over that cell, my note will appear. If I ever want to move that, I can right click, edit comment, and I have little sizing handles. I can move my comment around. I grab just the edge of it. I can move my comment around, but it will remain attached to that cell. If I ever click off the cell, the note disappears except for the little red mark in the corner. Right click, I can delete the comment or show or hide comments. If I do a hide comment, that just closes it. Hide, it's still there, but I hover over it, it comes back. If I want to have it stay viewed, it stays open because I told it not to hide it. It auto hides by default until I hover over the cell. So comments, again, another little thing that would show your capabilities, knowing a few extra things about some handy things in Excel. Especially if there's an interesting number on a spreadsheet that you want to highlight for your boss, just right click, add a comment. Anyone else viewing this can view that comment. Now they go over printing as well. Let's take a look at printing this, because you'll eventually want to print and send your documents. I'm going to do a save before I forget, because we've done some work here. Control S, save. Let's go to File, Print, and see what options we have. By default, it's going to want to print portrait. Usually for spreadsheets, landscape comes out better, but it's your choice depending on the formatting of your spreadsheet. I will most often choose fit sheet on one page. And you can also adjust your margins. Often people make narrow margins, but that's your own choice, and you can even customize your margins if you wanted. Don't like that pushing up against the left side. You can increase your left margin a little bit and leave the other margins small. So margins, landscape, this is really handy. Especially if you have a worksheet, you don't want it split across, because spreadsheets split across pages is just kind of hard to manage. I most often at least fit the columns on one page, if not the whole worksheet on one page. Sometimes if you have a large worksheet, it gets annoyingly small on the printout. And I don't think you need to worry about this. If you see this, I think it would still show the number in the print, in the PDF. But I'm not going to worry about sending it to PDF for now. Well, let me try just for fun. I want to see where that goes. I can put in my document. I'm going to call it EX2. It's over in my documents folder. Let's just see if if the numbers came out right in the PDF. I'm going to go to my documents folder and open that. And let's see if EX2 is there. I don't see it. Oh, it's a PDF. Where did it go? There it is. Let's see if it shows up in my PDF. Here's the PDF. Oh, look at that. They do come out as hashtags. I thought it would fix it on the actual printout. So if you do see the hashtags there, you're going to have a problem in your printout. That's kind of sad. You'd think that they would fix that.
So how would you fix that then?
It looks like the only way to fix that, let's see if we can fix that. So I do a file print. They're showing up. I guess I would have to turn off fit sheet to one page and no scaling. No, it doesn't fit. That is odd, isn't it? I guess, could I change my page size? No, it still comes out wrong. I guess I'd have to go back and adjust my font. Boy, that don't make that easy, do they? You'd think that if it shows up here fine, that the printout should show fine. I'd say that's a little bit of a bug in the printing algorithm. If it's going to do that, let's see. I zoomed in now, and let's see if the printout changes if I zoom in differently. No, it still leaves them weird formats. Let me do one more thing. I'm going to adjust the hours worked.
You might have to do fit to one sheet.
Let's see that. So I print. Hours worked is coming out right now because I manually adjusted that column. If I fit to one sheet, to one page, it keeps it fitting. It looks like you have to manually go and manually refit that. You'd think that the auto fit of the column would prevent this thing from happening. I just learned something today. All right, so we printed it. We know how to do notes. And, let's give this page a name. Let's do worksheet. Let's give that a name of, I probably missed that somewhere, where they wanted the name for that worksheet. Let's go see what name did they give that. Probably projected expenses. I guess we'll just call it report. Salary report. Let's just call it salary report. Now in the book they don't have us do a chart, but I think just for practice, let's do a chart. And let's just say we're management and we want to see who is making the most hourly pay rate. Let's get a pie chart of the hourly pay rate. I look at the numbers and I can see that old Steve Tillman's making the most. But just for fun, let's make a pie chart of that, and for practice. Remember, I need to select what's going to be the title of my slices of my pie and control select the number that will represent the size of my pie. I could do any of these columns. I'm going to choose to control click on hourly pay rate and select through exactly the same number of rows or my pie chart will go crazy. And then I do insert. I'm going to choose the 3D pie chart. And you could sort of tell that who's making the most, but let's change our style by clicking on that. And now if we choose a different style, there I can actually put the name on the slice of the pie. Let's of course move this to another worksheet. Right click, move chart. And let's put it to a new worksheet called Pay Pie. Pay rate pie chart. Pay rate pie chart. Pie chart. Click OK. Now, although I can tell Steve is making a little bit more of the slice of the pie, let's adjust our chart settings here under the plus, data labels, extra, more options, and let's add the value from the cell. No, not that. Let's add the value there to show along with the name of the person. And just to highlight Steve, let's click on his slice of pie. Click on the slice of pie once, and then click again, and then drag that away just to show, hey, Steve, he's special. And Benny's not doing too bad either. If you want to highlight that, click once and then drag it away. I think that's a better key when you've got something like this. Oh, let's give it a title. Pay rate comparison. Just as a little practice at charts, because charts, again, those will put you above everyone else in the usefulness and your knowledge of Excel. We've got the numbers, we've got a nice accounting page and good format, but that extra chart will set you above, especially if you're in the middle of a meeting, they're talking about these numbers, and someone in the meeting says, you know, it would be sure nice to have a pie chart. You could whip that out in just 10 seconds and they'd all be impressed. I think that's it for this project. Let's just see. We did the conditional formatting, did the spell check. Let's just do one more practice with conditional formatting. We're going to put a new page here. Let's call this page practice. And let's enter some values just for practicing conditional formatting. So let's do, how about, let's enter -1, -3, and then -4, -2. And watch what I can do. If I select both cells and then fill handle, watch what happens. It will actually continue a sequence of numbers that are incrementing by 1. If I had only selected the 2 and fill handled, it would have just copied the 2. But because I selected 2 cells and then continued the sequence with the fill handle, it knows to count up. Let's do the same thing in this direction. Let's make that a -4. And so the sequence should keep going more negative as I fill handle to the right. And now let's just fill handle. Let's see, what should I do here? Let's do a -4. And watch what happens when I adjust this sequence. Fill handle to the right. They continue by 2s each time because that was the difference between those 2 cells. Now let's see what happens here. If I select them all and fill handle down, I should get an interesting behavior. This one's decreasing by 1 each time. This one stays the same. This one by 2, this one by 3, by 4, by 5. Because that's the difference between those first 2. All this only for practice at conditional formatting. So I'm going to select through all these cells. And let's see, let's make numbers that are negative to have a slightly red background. Conditional formatting, after selecting the set of numbers, conditional formatting, new rule, cells that contain, cell value less than 0. And now I choose the format when it's less than 0. Format, fill of slight pink. And OK. And OK. Let's add another rule that if it's greater than 0, greater than or equal to 0, we'll give it another format. So conditional formatting, add another rule, cells that contain the cell value greater than 0. Let's make the format to be the green background. And bold font, or black font, or how about purple font, dark blue font, something interesting. You can hardly tell dark blue from black, but that's the formatting applied. If I ever change a number in there, change the -10 to a 3, it automatically gets that new formatting applied. Powerful technique in conditional formatting. And that is it for Excel Project 2. Done a salary report, lovely title, formatting, conditional formatting, flash fill on some cells, accounting versus currency, custom currency format, and custom date format. And of course, formulas, control tick to show me all my formulas I've been using throughout. Control tick again, and I'm done. So save that. Give you a minute if you'd like to upload that to Schoology. Then we'll just get started on the next project.